Boy kills anybody who steals his brain rod and steal a brain rod. This is so real. Oh my god, bro, that's so shocking, bro.
Calmly playing steal a brain rot,
Okay, bro,
stealing from a stranger. And then, that person starts sending you horrible messages until they find you on the street and do the worst to you. David was 13 years old and really enjoyed playing Roblox, especially a game called Steal a Brain Rot. Every day, David locked himself in his room, put on headphones, and spent hours playing Roblox. For other players, brain rots were memey digital characters to collect,
What is this? 20 minutes long?
Trade, or steal. But for David, they were much more. He viewed them as treasures, a veritable collection to be guarded at all costs. David knew everything about brain rots. He knew the rarity and complex names of each one, the approximate times when the best brain rots appeared, and he even kept a notebook where he wrote down strategies for stealing brain rots from other players. David went unnoticed at his school, so he rarely went there, or even skipped out and went to internet cafes or cyber clubs to continue playing Steal a Brain Rot.
No,
one
who
even
actually does this? Who skips schools to play a game? That's your brain rot.
That David no longer truly played for fun. For him, each brain rot was a treasure, worth more than any friendship or relationship with his family. And remember these words, guys. His mother began to notice his obsession with the game. She'd invite him to dinner, but he'd respond with insults or simply stay down and ignore her. But one night, something changed. While he was playing on a server, someone unknown appeared and stole his very expensive and valuable brain rot. David immediately went crazy and started typing in the game chat. "Who are you? Give it back right now." To which the player who stole from him didn't respond.
That player's so mean,
David swore
guys.
he wouldn't rest until he got his revenge. And that's when his motto was born. "I will destroy anyone who steals my brain rot." From that day on, other players began to notice.
I can't even act anymore. What is this? What is this? What is this? That motto that anybody who steals my brain rot will pay. Anybody who steals my brain rot will be destroyed. That's so crazy.
Every time someone even came close to his area, with malicious or kind intentions, David would go crazy and start insulting them. When someone tried to
played Steal a Brain Rot,
steal his
if somebody goes near your base, they never have kind intentions.
brain rot, David would do everything in his power to catch them. Even after
everything in his
he
power.
caught them, he stalked them on other servers, saying horrible things in chat.
How? I can barely say B without the Roblox chat tagging me out. So, like, what do you mean?
But that wasn't the worst. David began targeting players outside of Roblox, stalking their profiles, checking their social media, and even visiting their Discord groups. What was just a normal game for some or many people became a personal war for him. And then, the Roblox community began to notice. Some users began to fear David, while others reported receiving
David. I mean, I have a friend named David, but, like, I never heard of the name David.
messages
People
from David that said things like, "I know where you live. Don't ever touch my brain rots again, or you'll regret it." His behavior became
I know where you live. Never touch my brain rots again. What was that
increasingly
sentence
worse
just
and
came
more
out of
toxic. At first, it seemed like the usual empty words of a person who was extremely angry after a loss. But David wrote them again and again, as if each message were part of some kind of punishment.
What punishment?
He remembered
It's
nicknames,
brain rot. It's
avatars,
a digital
old
game.
comments, and any little details
pixels,
that others
bro.
left
It's
about
just
themselves
pixels.
publicly available. One afternoon, while he was playing with one of his friends from his neighborhood, the
I'm
friend played
surprised
a
he
prank
has friends. Is that song? Is that Mr. Beastin' song?
on David by trying to steal a brain rot from him, which was the worst thing he could have done. David's friend managed to steal the brain rot and then disconnected from the game until the next day. David, losing control, left the house and went to look for his so-called friend. It wasn't hard. His friend lived just 2 blocks
My friends do that to me all the time. My friend does that to me all the time, bro.
away.
I don't
When
even
David
play Steal a Brain
found
Rot
his friend,
anymore.
he
I
didn't
don't
even say
play
hello
it.
or anything. The only thing he did was push him hard, causing him to fall to the ground. And while David stood
This AI picture. This AI picture.
practically over
this?
him,
What is
he
this?
said the following: "Never steal anything from me again, or I will
What do you mean
destroy
from me? You mean from the
you."
pixel game?
The boy who stole David's
I will destroy you. Bro, I bet he can't even lift. I bet he can't even lift 1 pound.
brain rot was
without-
completely shocked
I bet he can't even lift a remote without without struggling. So I don't know. Bro.
and never
He's
wanted to
unbelievable.
play with him again. Afterwards, David returned home angry, but he didn't feel like a winner. After all, the stolen brain rot was still not in his base. So he wrote to his now former friend to return the brain rot, and he, in fear,
Return the
agreed to
brain
do
rot.
so. David's reputation began to grow in the gaming community. On
No,
forums
he
and in
did
chats,
not. I never heard
people
of
would
this
call
guy
him
called David
"Never
ever.
Steal from This Kid,"
Never heard
or
of
something
this kid
similar.
before.
At first, it was just a nickname, akin to an urban legend. But gradually,
This is fake.
people began to believe that something dark was afoot, that something worse was about to happen.
Something worse.
And from time to time, David himself would fuel this notoriety, writing strange messages in other chats like, "If you take anything from me, you'll disappear."
Oh, what is that? I can come up with
When someone
better
managed to
insults.
steal even one brain rot from David in
A
Roblox,
5-year-old
no matter
can
its
come
value,
come up
that
with
player
better
would
insults.
mysteriously disappear from the community.
Ooh.
Some who stole from David closed their accounts. Others even stopped logging online.
Oh,
And rumors
no.
swirled that David threatened them outside of the game, just as he had done with his neighbor's friend. At
Oh.
school, people also began to recognize him not by his name, but by this strange story. Some whispered he was crazy, some laughed,
He
but
is
no one wanted
crazy.
to test
They
how
are
far he
right.
could go.
They are
David, however,
rightfully
perceived
they
others'
are
fear as
rightfully calling him crazy. He is
proof of his own
cuckoo. He
strength.
is crazy.
But the worst was yet to come.
The worst.
The obsession mingled with real-life violence. David no longer distinguished the line between Roblox and real life. His gaze was glued to the screen.
David doesn't even know 1 plus 1. Every time when he tries to solve math, teacher says, "What's 2 plus 2?" And he says 5, bro.
His hands trembled with
Stupid.
rage whenever he felt something was under threat. For him, the brain
How
rot wasn't a
emotionally
character.
weak can
It was
you
a part of
be?
him, like a part of his
How?
body. And anyone who touched it was attempting to take his own
Anybody
life.
touched it.
The worst part was when David was playing, and suddenly David received a nasty
Okay. Okay, that was a stupid story. It's on my little brain.
The worst part was when David was playing, and suddenly David received a nasty message in the Roblox chat from
Yeah,
a man
no
named
wonder.
Basters52,
Buster.
and he said
This story is so fake.
exactly this: "Tomorrow, I'll take all your brain rots from you, and there's nothing you can do about it."
You could do something. You could just not play Steal a Brain Rot tomorrow. Like, who's 13 and plays Roblox? Like, who is 13 that plays Steal a Brain Rot? Like, what?
This phrase drove David a little crazy
Whoa, that is
and enraged. He closed the chat with this man, slammed his keyboard, and breathed heavily, like a cornered animal full of rage. His mother tried several
Stole my brain rots. I'm gonna kill him now.
times to take his phone away and turn off the router.
Yeah,
But then David
mom's
would
right.
act as if it wasn't the game that was being taken away from him, but the air itself. He'd scream, slam the door, promise to leave the house,
It's brain
and
rot.
sit in
It's
his room
brain
for
rot.
hours, reading that message
I'm
from the
getting rage
stranger
baited by this
over
guy.
and over again. Gradually, his mind stopped thinking about stealing strategies in the game and began to focus on how to destroy anyone who dared challenge him.
Destroy. Who says destroy? Who says destroy? Let's be honest.
And you've
Destroy
probably heard the
anyone.
phrase, fight fire with fire. To prevent his brain rots from being stolen, David decided to take action once and for all.
It's brain rot.
That entire night, Instead of earning new brainrots, David put the game aside for a bit and devoted himself to researching the person who had dared to challenge him. Since he already knew
You're wasting your life, bro. You're wasting your life
how,
on
David logged into the
steal a brain rot.
Roblox profile of the person who wanted to steal his brainrots, Basters52. He managed to find his Instagram address and saw his first name and one of his last names. This was more than enough to obtain valuable information, his location.
You spread your location on Instagram?
He repeated the nickname Basters52 to himself as if it were the name of a real enemy. The more he looked at this person's profile, the more convinced he became that the threat was no joke. David was already imagining logging into the server tomorrow and seeing an empty space where his brainrots used to be, and this made him hate this man even more.
It's brainrots! It's pigs.
So he was already thinking about the methods of punishment he could use against him. But first, he needed to get to the Basters. David already had many strategies for locating strangers. He was already an expert in this field, and he simply opened Google Maps and searched for the address of his house. His heart was pounding so hard he almost didn't hear the computer hum. The map slowly zoomed in on the screen. The streets became clearer, the houses lined up, and David leaned closer, as if afraid to miss the most important thing. The Basters' house was exactly 7 blocks from David's.
Why is he so dang close?
But it wasn't too far either. Realizing he could reach his enemy, David let out an overly sinister laugh, which made even his room feel colder. That same night, David decided to go to the house, grabbed his backpack, and filled it with the things he deemed necessary for the battle. He took a kitchen knife, a flashlight, and for some reason, also his brainrots notebook. And before leaving his room and his house, he wrote on the wall of his room with a red marker, "Whoever steals will be destroyed." He stared at this phrase for a few seconds, as if it were the rule of his life. After that, David slowly left the house and headed to Basters' address. The walk to this person's address, Basters52, was disturbing. It was night, and the streets were completely empty. His mind was already completely damaged so much that as he walked straight towards the house, towards his goal,
because of
his mind repeated, "I must destroy him. I must destroy him." But at the same time, he doubted his decision, and from time to time,
he can barely pick up.
Thought about turning back, because it could have been a bad idea from the start. Because Basters52 could have been an ordinary troll who wanted to scare him. But as soon as David remembered the message and imagined someone taking all his brainrots, his face became stony again. Doubt disappeared, and in its place, one thought returned. "I must destroy him." He continued walking until he reached the house he needed. Before him stood an old building with curtained windows, peeling paint, and an overgrown garden that looked as if
this is Basters 99. He's poor.
At first glance, it seemed as if no one lived inside. David even thought he had the wrong address and was about to turn away. But then he noticed a faint, flickering light on the second floor. A cold blue light, like the glow of a computer screen, was flickering in one of the windows. David immediately decided it wasn't a coincidence. He removed his backpack, pulled out a flashlight, and prepared to do what he'd come for. Slowly, he approached the door and carefully pushed it open. David entered very quietly, trying not to make a sound. It was dark inside, and the air felt heavy and musty, as if the windows hadn't been opened
musty, dusty, crusty
in years. He turned on the flashlight and took his first step. The floor beneath his sneakers creaked so loudly that David froze for a second. Every rustle seemed to warn him, "Leave now." But he was too consumed by his obsession to stop.
For brain rot!
The first floor looked almost empty. Old furniture, dusty walls, crookedly hung paintings, and long shadows that shifted with every flick of the flashlight.
Congratulations, you have 2 potato babies.
Okay,
But unfortunately,
I know which
one was
one's
born
worse.
rotten.
Rotten?
This?
What are we supposed to do with a rotten
This
child?
Doctor, isn't there a way to separate
or
them?
the crap
Only
I'm watching
Things
right now.
and long shadows that shifted with every flick of the flashlight. But something caught his eye on the table.
Okay.
There were several sheets of paper with handwritten names, Roblox nicknames, and he recognized many of them. They were players who had once defeated him, or with whom he had argued in previous games of Steal a Brainrot. David felt his heart begin to beat faster. He knew he'd come to the right place. Basters 52 wasn't just some random troll. This person seemed to be collecting information on players too, and perhaps knew much more about David
What?
than he realized. At
This
that
makes no
moment,
sense.
the blue light flickered from above again. It was coming from the second floor, from a room where a computer was clearly working. David swallowed anxiously and began to climb the stairs. When he reached the middle of the stairs, he froze. The bright light of a monitor was visible through the slightly open door of the room, and on the screen, although blurry due to the distance, a Roblox avatar was moving. David squinted to get a better look, and suddenly went cold. It was his own avatar. Not a similar one, not a copy, but his own account, his nickname, his items, and his characters. So the person at this computer wasn't just threatening to steal his brainrots. They had already somehow gained access to his account. His inventory was open on the screen,
Okay,
and the
that was
cursor
yellow.
slowly moved over his most valuable characters. Secret,
Why
legendary,
is this guy so obsessed with brain? I
and
don't
extremely
get it.
rare
I don't get it.
brainrots
Is
stood on the
brainrots
list,
like,
ready
like
to
a secret
disappear from
brainrot,
his
$1 million
account.
or something?
David felt his rage mingle with real fear for the first time. He took a few steps back and muttered, "No, this can't be." His mind went blank for a second. He'd come here
No, this cannot be. Syndrome.
thinking he was in control, that he was the hunter, not the hunted. But now it felt like he'd been lured into a trap. He spun around and ran downstairs. His hand slipped over the railing, his backpack hit the wall, the flashlight nearly fell from his fingers. David wanted only one thing: to get out of this house and get to his room, to his computer, as quickly as possible, to try to regain control of his account and his brainrots. He'd almost reached the front door when a prolonged creak came from above. David stopped dead in his tracks. The door to the room where someone was playing Roblox on his account slowly opened. The creak was long, sharp, and unpleasant, as if the person on the second floor specifically wanted David to hear every second of it. Then a voice rang out in the darkness. It wasn't too low, but calm and confident, which made it even more terrifying. "I knew you'd come, David." David heard the man slowly descending the stairs.
Man.
And David simply stood staring at the front door, unable to move. He seemed in no hurry, because he knew for certain that David wasn't going anywhere. Two thoughts warred within David. One screamed at him to open the door and run. The other whispered that if he ran now, he would lose not only his brainrots, but also all his power, all his fear, the entire legend he had built around his name. When David suddenly gathered his courage and slowly turned his head toward the stairs, what he saw was something unimaginable. And then it turned out that it wasn't a stranger standing in front of him,
Okay.
but that same Tyler. Yes, if you remember, it was that friend who once stole his brainrot as a joke, and then David found him on the street, pushed him, and threw him to the ground. Since then, Tyler seems to have forgotten everything and has probably suffered psychological trauma. Or I don't know why the hell his friend looked at him with such hatred. He seemed to be holding a grudge and was angry about something David had done to him long ago, because it turned out Tyler was also a bit mentally ill and couldn't handle being humiliated in front of others, and his plan seemed too well thought out and too crazy. David and Tyler stood facing each other for a few seconds, not saying a word. Then Tyler quietly said, "Now it's your turn, David." Later, many neighbors reported hearing loud banging on the door that night.
This YouTube channel is mentally ill.
It seemed David was trying to get out, but the door was locked. No one ever figured out who locked it or when. Perhaps
Oh my
Tyler
God,
had
I'm so
prepared
tired
everything in
of
advance.
this.
Or perhaps David, in a
5 more
panic,
minutes, just
simply
hang
couldn't
out.
open the lock properly.
4 more minutes.
His
just
friend,
hang out a little
descending
bit.
the last step, turned on the laptop he was holding and showed it to David. He showed him that he had David's account on the laptop, meaning he had literally hacked it. All the brainrots were still there, but they obviously no longer belonged to David. Tyler clearly wanted David to feel the same helplessness he had once felt. David took a step back. He knew Tyler was computer savvy, but he never imagined he was capable of hacking his account and setting such a trap. Tyler was very angry with him and seemed to be making a claim, as if he shouldn't have pushed him just because he was playing Roblox, and he was threatening him, saying he was going to take away what mattered most to him so that he would understand how Tyler really felt. David tried to get the kitchen utensil, but his body literally wouldn't obey him. David was so shocked and afraid that he couldn't move a muscle. At that moment, David tried to apologize because there was no other way out, but his pride wouldn't allow it. Tyler moved closer and closer to David, and David finally
Bro, this guy
managed
has
to get
no
the
pride
kitchen
at all.
utensil.
What are you talking?
With trembling hands, he shouted at Tyler, "Stay back, or I'll destroy you!" Tyler looked at him without fear.
Stay back or I'll destroy you. That's not very convincing.
Almost mockingly. They both stared at each other, and the only sound was the ticking of the clock. That little sound kept getting louder and louder in David's head, and suddenly,
Go away from me! Go away!
This is just a random still brain rot kid. What?
Go away!
I crossed the line with my childhood friend,
Hey!
the biggest boy I know.
No!
So here's how it happened.
Go away!
Get away from me, webtoons. Get away!
no one knows exactly what happened that night. Many neighbors say they heard only bangs, arguments, and
type
shouting,
of bang?
but no one intervened, thinking it was just teenagers
minute.
arguing.
Bang, 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 till I take you down.
But the worst was about to begin. The next morning, David's parents went up to his room and found it completely destroyed. The computer was smashed, the keyboard lay on the floor, the monitor was cracked, and scratches and strange phrases appeared on the walls. The most noticeable inscription was repeated several times. "This is not yours." The notebook with the brainrots drawings was torn to pieces, and sheets of paper were scattered throughout the room, as if someone had deliberately wanted to destroy everything David considered important. David himself wasn't home. Tyler was also missing. His parents couldn't contact him, his friends hadn't seen him online, and both of their accounts had been inactive for some time. Police allegedly searched for them for several days, questioned neighbors, and checked the abandoned house, but found nothing. Or at least, nothing that was later officially reported. Some neighbors claimed to have seen 2 teenagers near the old house that night, but they couldn't say who they were. Various theories began to appear on forums almost immediately.
And
Some wrote that David won the fight, forced Tyler to return the account, and then disappeared because he realized how far things had gone. Others believed that Tyler had planned not only the hack, but also the escape,
stop!
meaning he could have been the last
End!
one to leave the house.
Please!
There were even stranger theories, that Tyler didn't exist at all,
Please,
but was a
I'm
part
so
of David's
tired of
consciousness,
this.
born out of his addiction to the game, his fear of losing his brain rots, and his desire to punish himself.
God, bro.
The most chilling detail was the final message that appeared on David's Roblox account. It was posted after both had disappeared. It read something like, "Whoever stole them from me has already paid." And that's where things got
This is
really
really
confusing.
No,
If David
that's when things got really cringe.
wrote the
Not
message,
confusing.
then he might have finally prevailed and wanted to show he'd regained control. But if Tyler wrote it, the phrase became mocking, as he could have been posting as David using the stolen account. And no one still knows who won, who disappeared first,
This
or who actually
Another
remains the owner of those brain rots. Be sure to subscribe to
it's like subscribe to. This is so stupid. I just lost half of my brain cells from that video. That video was so brain rotted. My brain still hurts. Well, yeah.